Sorry, just bounce into the music. Hey everyone, Silas Knowles, the ZB Pirate. How are y'all doing? It is Friday the 15th of January in 2021. Woo! Educators are doing an awesome job out there. You guys are pushing through. Whole new year ahead of us. Fingers crossed in year 2 we'll be all in person, probably with masks, but what are you going to do? At least it's all in person. So definitely, little piece of business, pushboundconsulting.com is an educational consulting firm specializing in professional development. We have a team of, 16 that spans across the globe that specializes in every part of education you could think of. We have people in Beijing, China. So Steve, if you're watching, what's up? Be safe. And it's crazy. Louisiana, California, Arizona, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, everything else. So definitely, if you are looking for professional development for your school, if you're a superintendent, principal, educator, and you know that your school is looking, please consider us. I'm a little bit biased saying we are the best in the universe, because we are. And pushboundconsulting.com, contact us there, or you can DM me at ZB Pirate, and we can get you in contact with the co-founders and get you going. So today, we're doing a little doubleheader today of shows. So started out with Chris Dodge, and now we have our friend, let's get this here, our friend Allison. Allison.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
How you doing? So refresh my memory, you're in Jersey, right?
Yeah, New Jersey, yep.
Yay. Every time I talk to people that, are on the 100 or everything else, Rick, our co-founder, Dr. Rick Jetter, is in Buffalo, New York, and I've talked to all these Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, all like East Coast people. It's like all the East Coast people and everything else. Allison, for the educational community in the world, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What do you do in education, and anything you want to do, anything you want to talk about, or anything you want to introduce yourself on? Sorry.
Sure. Allison Kreiss. I am in my 16th year of being an educator. I started off in the world of English language arts and decided that I wanted to branch out into special education because it was near and dear to my heart, knowing that a family member was having difficulty going through school with some special ed issues. So I became a special education teacher, also with the content area of English. And then I kind of had a run-in with an administrator that didn't work out so well for me and taught me a lot and made me want to go back and learn the right way to do things and how to run a building and, just how to be a leader of people the right way. And so I went back and got my admin degree and looking for the perfect fit right now. I've yet to find it, but I know it's out there. And that's pretty much what I'm doing. I co-teach both with an ICS teacher. So I am the learning specialist in the room. That's how we like to talk about it in my district. So there's a content area specialist, and then there's like the learning specialist. So I'm the mastermind behind all of the ins and outs of lesson ideas and thinking outside the box. And I throw a lot of curveballs out there to my content area teachers, like, hey, you want to try this? And they're like, what? But I like to try new things and, go hard with everything that I do. And just loving it. Just doing a lot for the students, trying to get their input a lot more lately. That's kind of like my new thing for the past few years. Partnered up with a couple of really awesome ladies to do action research on student voice and student choice, which actually connected me with Dr. Jetter. And we've been moving forward, presenting at ISTE for the last 2 years, at a couple of CEL conferences through NCTE. So, we're turning and burning.
Excellent. So when it comes to, and there's a couple questions I have prepped for you today, but one questions I have, and I think would be helpful to a lot of people is that special ed in this educational landscape that we're in, how does that look like? I mean, what does that look like when it comes to a special ed teacher in ELA teaching in this type of environment? I mean, what kind of changes and what kind of things do you have to do differently to serve that kid, to make sure that student is being helped on every level in a virtual environment?
Well, I think you need to completely rethink and reevaluate modifications and accommodations, because when you have a student that is 100% remote, how do you modify grading? How do you do one-on-one instruction? Before we had breakout rooms, that was well, okay, I'm gonna make up a special secondary meet code so that you can come and meet with me so that we can work on these things that you're struggling with. You don't get that assessment of their skills, so it really does put the teacher at a disadvantage. But then again, you have a lot of students that are thriving in the remote scenario. So, but I'd really say that it's accommodations and modifications are really being revisited and reevaluated a lot by educators now, special educators, because this whole pandemic kind of like pulled the rug out from under us, and a lot of those accommodations and mods have all been written for in-person instruction. So it's really, we have to modify and accommodate ourselves in order to modify and accommodate the students. So it's really just reevaluating everything that we do, and looking to see what we can do the best for them in their current environment. So it's kind of where you have to just like pump the brakes a little bit, and after you realize that it's throwing you for a loop, stop and ask the kids, you know, what do you need from me? And kind of just have to start the conversation there.
Definitely. I mean, what do you think going into 2021? Like, what did you learn about education in this type of world coming from 2020 to 2021 and bringing it into this year to help your students?
I think we're prepared a little bit more. We don't get as aggravated about that whole, I'm an 80s, 90s kid, so I grew up watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I sit there and what's his name? Stein is at the front of the room, and he's just like Bueller, Ferris, Bueller, and just you get those moments on any given day where you hear crickets and nobody wants to talk, nobody wants to show their face, and the teachers are both in the same room and also looking at each other on the camera, and you just make a face like, seriously, like what's going on back there? I know the wheels are spinning, and then all of a sudden you get something clack 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 in the chat. I'm like, can you turn your microphone on? So I think the frustration of that from 2020, now bringing it into 2021, we're not as frustrated, we're not as aggravated about it. We're anticipating it, not expecting it, but anticipating it coming, and trying to find new and interesting ways to engage the students. I feel like student engagement is really dropped with remote learning. The fact that my district just went back to the hybrid model, so it's nice to see kids. It's nice to have that in-person relationship with them. Just other people. I'd like to say, shorter people. I work in a high school, so all the kids are bigger than me. But it's nice to see, people under the age of fill in the blank. It just, it reminds you of why you got into the profession in the first place. They make you all warm and fuzzy. And it's nice to go in and, be around those kids.
It's weird. It's weird though. It's like you come in, and I talked about a quick story in a previous podcast where, a kid came in for office hours and he recognized me because he sees me on the camera, and my kids never turn on their cameras ever. And we're not allowed to force them. We're not allowed to force them
either.
Yeah. So it's like, he's like, Mr. Knowles. And I'm just like, and I'm searching in my head because we have pictures on our Skyward, on our attendance thing. I'm just like, and I found the kid in my head. I'm just like, oh, okay. And then it's just now coming back in. It's like the first day all over again, because we're going back hybrid in February, and it's just the first day all over again. And I have freshmen who are scared to come back because, there's like, we don't know where our classes are. Like, we don't know where to go in the building. And it's one of those weird things that, it's a decent transition. I teach in my high school. It's like we have in-person office hours, but no one comes. And it's just, people are just, they're scared, and I'm trying to alleviate their fear. But it's like, how does it feel? You're back in hybrid, you said?
Yeah, we're hybrid now. Yep.
How's the transition going from going full remote to like that hybrid thing? I mean, is there a learning curve? Is there anything you didn't expect coming out of it?
I will say that, everybody complains about having to wear a mask when you teach, and there are definitely a lot of downsides to it. The one thing I do say I miss about being remote is that, I'm in my own classroom. I see everybody, I hear everybody. Granted, it's mostly their avatars, but I don't have this restriction over my face, which is really nice, because it's like, this is what I look like. Yes, the camera adds 10 pounds, but other than that, this is what I look like. So when you do eventually get to see me in person, it's not so bad. I'm not really that scary. But then you'd put the mask over the face, and you have to go in, and it's like, sometimes it's like, just rip the darn, can I just rip it off, please? Do you mind if I'm 6 feet away from you? But I can't do that. It's against the rules. So, but I will say that's one thing that I like about remote instruction. But hybrid, again, having the kids in the building, we started out on a remote schedule, and then we slowly started to go hybrid. And I can't remember exactly in my mind when that happened, but it happened. And we've teetered back and forth between remote and hybrid right around the Thanksgiving time frame, because we were worried, obviously, people going away, seeing family members and such. But we have gone back and forth, and we've actually upped it a bit. We started off with, we've always had 4 tracks, but we've expanded the one track that is meeting 4 days a week. So Monday, Tuesday, we have track A. Wednesday is everybody is remote. Teachers still have to come into the building. And then Thursday, Friday is track B. Track D students are all remote. They had to be requested by a parent. And then track C, which was at first reserved for a smaller group of students, I guess, to kind of see how it would work. And those students really needed the structure, was the 4 days a week. So it was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So we've started to expand that and open it up to students who were in need, again, of that structure, of that the school environment, of being in a classroom, being in with a teacher physically. So it's definitely a work in progress. I know that we're keeping our fingers crossed that we can even expand it further moving forward, coming to the end of the semester and then starting semester 2. I teach both freshmen and juniors, so I kind of run the gamut with, oh my God, Ms. Kreiss, I'm so sorry I'm late to class. And I'm like, relax, it's okay. I understand you don't know the building. No, you didn't have an 8th grade orientation. You don't know where you're going. I get it. Don't worry about it. You're a half hour late, we're going to talk, but 5, 10, 15 minutes, let it slide for a couple of times, and then I'll take you around. We also have arrows on our floors. So sometimes it's 2 directions, and sometimes it's just one way. So they sometimes have to go down a staircase and then go around a whole block of a hallway in order to come back up and then go back to the place they want to go to. So it's also fun for teachers when you cover classes on the opposite side of the building. And then the teachers end up late, so you really can't hold the kids in timeout because they showed up 7 minutes into class, and you're like strolling in, and you're like, I was in the D wing, and I just need to go to the restroom. It's like, you don't have time for that kind of stuff. You get 5 minutes in between, and you got to follow the which way you're going. This way. I need to get from point A to point B, and it's not a direct route anymore. So we're dealing with the hurdles. We're having conversations with students. Honestly, I'm seeing a whole different side of confidence levels with the kids. When they were in person, it takes 2 seconds for a kid to be on a cell phone conversation in the middle of the hallway. Like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna go through. Yeah. Okay. Oh, FaceTime. Yeah. I'll catch you later. Okay. All right.
That's really spot on, though. I gotta say.
My daughter, she's a little bit more than, so she's 15 months old, and and I always make a face at her when she's mean to me. She's like, and I'm like, and then she goes with the duck lips, and I'm like, oh boy, we're gonna have to change this. But that's literally what happens in the hallway. Like they had no problems, just like taking off that cloak of invisibility and showing who they truly were. And then all of a sudden we went remote, and now they're hiding behind a camera. They're hiding behind the screen that they don't want to turn on. They're hiding behind the chat box because they don't want to turn on their microphone. Sometimes I feel like a lot of my kids that are juniors, I've had them before, so I know what they look like. I knew what they look like. I did have to go on Power School for a few of them to see, what their pictures were like for those kids that I didn't have yet. But now I'm finding that I hear their voices and I know who they are without having to look to see, oh, the little green bars are going up and down. And now I know who's talking. But but it's like, my senses are starting to become in tune to more things about them. But I see that students that would have been have a lack of confidence in person are coming out of their shell a little bit because they can hide behind the camera. So it's not always necessarily a bad thing. They might be, keeping us from seeing whatever it is that's going on in their life that they don't feel comfortable with sharing. Maybe they're, helping another kid at home, a sibling. A lot of them act as parents in a lot of ways. So, kudos to those kids that are playing double duty and still trying to keep it going with school and academics. And, it's just, again, the confidence level is it's different. You would think that behind technology, they'd be all over the place. And some of them are really finding their niche and talking a lot and participating, and still don't see them on the camera, but still. But all that time in the hallway, they show other people who they are on camera. And now we get on camera and you would think everybody be on. They're like, nope, can't see me. Nope. Right, I'm like, right. So, you take your wins where you can get them. You do get participation. We have to, pull the carrot a little bit to a certain respect, but, they are making strides. And I think that having done one level of remote education from March to June into September, now we're kind of like, we're not pros at it, but we're better than we were. We've all kind of looked into different tricks to, amp up the level of engagement and connect with our students because we're missing that. We are really missing that. And not just a pedagogical point of view, but I think from, looking through the heart, that a lot of us are missing that, because that's again, like I said before, it's why a lot of us got into it. It's to work with kids and really just share our knowledge and our passion for our content, and hopefully leave them with a lasting impression of who we are, and hopefully that they do something great with it moving forward.
So you were talking about all the different tracks that your school's on for scheduling. Now, do you have like a giant binder that you keep track of it, or like a bulletin board in your room where you have like different lines, like a battle grid or anything? It just seems so complicated.
Like 6 degrees of separation, like where the line is going to the little thing. Yeah. I really should. I mean, my classroom's the size of an office. So I'd have to blow out a wall in order to find room for that. But I'll keep it in mind.
You remember watching CSI and they have all the strings with the pictures and stuff?
Yeah.
It all connects one thing. And I'm thinking, I see that in my mind when you're like, well, track A and track B. I'm just like, that's awfully confusing.
Well, thankfully, our LMS actually breaks it down. Our attendance, we could break it down by track, so you can see who's supposed to be where on what day. But when I went through student teaching in 2004, I was kind of like that tail end of paper copies and just starting to get into, digital portfolios and really showing, everything digitally and creating, your voice through that for interviews. So I like my old school paper. So I always make sure every year with my supply order, I always order an attendance book so that I can keep track of everything on paper, because, when all else fails, have a plan B. If that LMS goes kaput, if our network goes kaput, guess what? I got attendance. I'm all set. I know who's here. I know who's not. I know what time they got here. And when I go to my meetings, I could just open it up and be like, well, he said that he's been in class a lot, but survey says that is incorrect. I have everything right in front of me. So, it's nice. It's small. It's, I don't really carry a bag other than my Chromebook. So I'm not really toting around a lot of stuff, but it does help me to have the paper copy for the attendance records. And but yeah, so I do write a lot in there with regards to the tracks, and our attendance has to be very, very accurate with regards to present codes, whether they're remote present or if they're in-person present. because everything's getting calculated very differently for the state. So just making sure we stay on that and we're as accurate as possible.
So when we talk about stuff on the status quo and pushing boundaries in general, I sense there are two things that you would want to attack professionally when it comes going forward to education. If you had a choice to change things, if you had a choice to really move the border on certain things, and I'll let you choose. I'll let you choose which one you want to talk about, because one I know you got a sore thumb on, and the other one I just heard, and it's awesome that you went and got 75 and everything else with admin stuff. But when it comes to the things you've experienced in education, do you want to change professional development for the good, or do you want to change how administration is for the good? Because you want to be that admin, that aspiring admin, but I know from talking to you that professional development is kind of a sore spot for you. So what do you think going into 2021 you would want to push the boundaries or push the status quo of making one of those two things I mentioned the better for education?
Well, the funny thing is that I think they both kind of marry together quite well. That with regards to professional development, I think teachers are doing an amazing job. They're going out, they're finding webinars, they're finding ed camps, they're watching things on YouTube, taking notes, submitting things. But the problem I have is that where does it go from there? If you use school business days to attend a professional development, then in my district anyway, you have to then turnkey that information in some capacity, whether it's a department meeting, PLC, or a faculty meeting, depending on what your building administration would like you to do. That's kind of like the agreement that we have with regards to getting granted school business days. But again, where does it go from there? So if I were an administrator in a building and I'm thinking about all of those people that I have, they're experts in their own rights with everything that they do. And we've just recently started it in my building over the last few years and with different administrators, kind of taking that and leveraging all of that experience and really going out there and sharing that knowledge with people and giving people the opportunity to see that administrators have faith in you. They know that you're smart, that you're talented, that you go out there, that you're an expert in some way, shape, or form in something having to do with education. We want you to share that. And I think that opens up a lot of doors with regards to mutual respect and feeling that support that teachers sometimes feel is lacking coming from administrators. I've always tried to be the type of teacher where, I start with my students and then my colleagues, and maybe sometimes to the point where it's almost annoying, where, if you've got a problem, let me know, I'll try to fix it. And ironically, I was listening to your podcast with Tara Martin, who I personally love and adore. And I am privileged to have met her in person at ISTE a couple of years ago. Just a very genuine, loving woman who supports anybody that she comes into contact with.
Who can bench press anything. I mean, let's be honest.
And she's like this.
Yeah.
So I secretly am like, I want to hug you, but I hate that you're scared of me. But I love and respect to her. She is phenomenal. She wears so many hats, and she's one of two women that I could talk about that have really influenced me and my journey moving forward in the last few years. Just a quick recap. When I met her, I explained the anxiety I was feeling about, applying for jobs and not feeling like you're getting any headway. Get called back for a second interview, you're a finalist, and then so sorry you didn't get it. It's like, so how many times do you hear so sorry and get that level of rejection before you give up? And I don't give up, but that's not who I am. That's never been who I am. I've learned to do the exact opposite, almost to a fault. So Tara actually took the time after her keynote and everything, and she's like, send me your resume, send me your cover letter. She's like, I will go over it with you. I will make notes. I will send you comments, whether or not you want to take them. That's up to you. She's like, but I will absolutely look at this for you. And I'm like, holy moly, this is a woman who's beyond busy. 24 hours is not enough time in a day for her to do everything she does. And she's going to find time to take care of this for me. So the next time I went on an interview, I definitely took all of the pointers I possibly could from her. And I felt like I knocked it out of the park. So I at least for myself, I didn't get the job, but I still felt 100 times better walking out of there knowing that I had taken those suggestions and done something positive. So that level of support that she gave me is something that I aspire to do for anybody that I come into contact with. I want to be, I want to be like Tara, but I want to be like Tara. I want to be like LaVonna Roth, like who again is another, probably the second most genuine person I've ever met in my life. Just be there, be true to who you are, support anybody that comes into contact with you, and do what you can. And again, like Tara, I'm a problem solver. If you give me a challenge, I'm gonna find a way to do something for you. I'm gonna find a way to fix it. And it's just, I kind of feel like I have always done that, and almost to the point where when I get frustrated, it's because I've hit a brick wall and I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore. What am I gonna? But then, again, learning a little bit more about myself, breaking out, asking for help, surrounding myself with people who are strong in areas where I'm weak. And that's where I feel like I've kind of grown as a person, as an educator, as a aspiring administrator, and how I want to keep moving forward. So that's it. Just, can't stop the pace. Got to keep moving and keep learning from great minds and educators. And
speaking of that, how do you feel about the 100?
I am proud to be a part of this project. To be honest with you, the whole concept of stop doing this, stop doing that, I took a gut check minute before I decided I wanted to be a part of it. But then I thought about, it's all about perspective. So you can look at stopping something as a negative thing, but you can look at stopping something also as a positive. And my chapter, without giving too much away, is just stop complaining. There are things that you absolutely need to put up your dukes for and fight about. But every little thing, every little accountability thing that comes through in education, sometimes it's just, okay. And you're not, they're not leading you to slaughter. It's not one of those things where it's just like you're with the blind leading the blind, but
right.
That's part of your job. But in the end, are you doing what you need to do for your students? Are you doing the best that you can, being the best person you can be, whether it's in the confines of a computer or in the classroom or a combination of the two? If you're doing that and staying true to what your ideas are about education, then that's keeping it real to me.
So with permission from Dr. Jetter, he has actually given me permission to talk about it very little on the podcast. I haven't been given full access to discuss, but this is how much I can talk about it. So just it's real quick. It's going to be so fast. Okay, there you go. That's how fast I can talk about it.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that's how fast I can talk about it. But everyone who's listening in the educational, administration, and superintendent world, and basically everyone who's interested in education, the 100 Project is the biggest thing that has ever come out for education, the biggest collaborative. And I'll share a number with you that I was let in on, is that he had 762 people respond to this project, and you and myself and 98 other people are part of the 100.
That's
so yeah, he had 7. He's like, I had to do soccer cuts, and I had like this 1, 2, 3, all the way down. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, I do absolutely feel honored and privileged to be a part of the project. And, I think that it's transformative in a way that, again, it has to do with perspective. So if you go into reading my chapter, your chapter, the book in its entirety, and think that you're looking at it from a negative standpoint, you got to be a little bit more open-minded about the fact that it's not just the title. Think about the message.
You got to be realistic. Perspectives.
Yeah.
We all have our different perspectives. I mean, I mean, I'm sure I talked about this a little bit before on the other show that I did. Is that when you went back hybrid recently, was there a lot of negativity surrounding it at all? Like everyone was scared or like, voiced their concern about things?
I would say I heard a little bit more about from the students. A lot more students were switching to the D track, which is all remote. They were worried about coming into the building right at the beginning. And funny enough, I turned to them and I'm like, we've got 95 adults in the building. We've had them in here for over a month and we haven't had any cases. And the kids are still getting sick. So what does that tell you? It's not the teachers. So not to sound like, point a finger, but, don't blame it on coming into the building as the reason why. You have fears about the coronavirus. I get it. I went for my vaccine yesterday. So I'm a first responder. So trying to do my part that way. But you're never going to be able to get rid of that fear for people. They have to kind of come to grips with it on their own. So with regards to the students, just keep supporting them in whatever track they're in. And if they come in, great. We love to see you. If they don't, then, every once in a while, just do one of those, open up your camera and say, oh, that's what you look like. Thanks. Oh my God, you're better. Oh, okay. You turned off your camera now.
And that's the thing. I mean, and the one thing too, is like in my school, a lot of the teachers are voicing their concern, and not to take anything away from their concern. I have concerns. I have a family. They have families and everything else, but I like having a paycheck. Number one, I like having a paycheck. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's for the students. I mean, I don't want to, I'm not taking away from anyone's fear. They have to make their own decisions on how they want to do things and everything. But at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's never about me. It's about the kids. It's about me trying to be there for them. And that's the thing. I'm stuck in like that middle ground. Like I do share the fear, but I also like doing my job, and it's like I'm right there in the middle. Like, I don't want to be over here, but I want to be over here, and it's this, you know what I mean?
I hear you. I'm kind of in the same position. It's definitely a bit of an ego boost that we come in every day and we're safe. We managed to come out. There have been people that have been, close contact who have been exposed but have not tested positive. So, there are positives that are coming out of this. And it does make me feel a little bit more confident when I come in every day. It's less, there's definitely nowhere near. And I've asked people that I work with too, it's like, how do you feel? Like, you feel a little bit better about it now that we've been in this for a few months? And they're like, oh yeah, like the anxiety that they felt at the beginning is nowhere near what it is now. So it's, you're getting into the groove. You're getting into habits of being in the building and the way that you do things. And, it stinks. My hands are really just, they're bearing the brunt of this pandemic like no other. If somebody out there just pilots a wonderful moisturizer, I will gladly send you hundreds and hundreds of
them. I've never washed my hands more or sanitized my hands more than in the last 9 months. It's like every day it's like,
I know. We sent my son back to school 2 days a week, and because he's 3.5. So when we sent him back, we needed obviously things to be different. He wasn't used to wearing a mask, but he's doing great with that. And he comes home, his poor little hands are all chapped over here, but like in between his thumb and his forefinger. And I'm like, Benjamin, what happened? He's like, I don't know, Mommy. And I said, okay. So I'm like taking Vaseline and like rubbing it into his hands before he goes to bed at night. I'm like, do I have to put gloves on you too so that it gets in there? Like it's little things like that. But, like I said, the anxiety level of what it was the first couple of months is nowhere near, even when the transition, when we moved from remote to hybrid, having kids in the building, you start to see numbers go up here and there. But our superintendent, central office admin has been completely transparent with us as much as she possibly can be with regards to numbers, cases, contact tracing and whatnot, and building administration as well. They've been great. Just, keeping us in the loop with a lot, as much as they can legally with all of that stuff. And, that everybody's been doing a really great job, just keeping it moving.
Excellent. So to be mindful of your time and everything else, and I do appreciate you joining us today and sharing your thoughts, feelings, your views on everything. Is there anything social media wise that people can follow you at?
Sure. So only on Twitter. Instagram is completely private, but on Twitter, at Kreiss Teach. So Kreissteach. It would be great if an English teacher spelled it wrong. At Kreiss Teach on Twitter. I'm usually pretty good about getting into, Twitter chats and responding to a lot of things. It's completely professional. Love to, hook up with people. It's some of the greatest people in education I've met via Twitter. I've been privileged to meet many of them in person. Hopefully I will meet up with more. Again, Dr. Jetter, mostly because of my action research and the connection with what he did with his book with Rebecca Coda. So I am honored to have branched out and have met so many people who have influenced me and helped me grow. And, I'd love to do that for somebody else if you need it. I'm all about positivity and keeping everybody moving up.
Very good. I appreciate having you on today, Allison. Thank you so much. And for us at pushboundconsulting.com, pushbound.edu, what are you guys doing to push the boundaries of your classroom, regardless if it's virtual or in person? And just remember all the time that we're here for our students. Allison, be safe. We'll see you soon.